Hey, hello, I'm Kråkan, also known as Corvus Cornix, so welcome to Yacc, yet another Crowcast where I pick a game, I play it for a week, and then I talk about it. This week's game is Snufkin Melody of Moominvalley. It was released in 2024 for the PS5, and it's a single-player adventure art experiment developed by Hyper Games and published by Raw Fury, and also there'll be spoilers up ahead, just so you know, but first a little backstory. So I was kind of sad, actually. About a half a year ago, this game was announced and released on the Nintendo Switch, and there was no PlayStation port to be found, but this week I took a look at PSN, and there it was. It was a pleasant surprise, to say the least. So first things first, this game was inspired by Tove Jansson's stories and books about the Moomins. And what are the Moomins? They're basically what my brother referred to as cookie trolls. They're nice trolls, and the whole story revolves around their family and their friends. And Snufkin is this wandering character that befriends the family and the main character called Moomin. So to explain the character of Snufkin, the main character that you play, I'm going to read out a quote from one of the books. But that's how it is when you're starting to wanting to have things. Now I just look at them, and when I go away I carry them in my head. Then my hands are always free, because I don't have to carry a suitcase. So in short, Snufkin is a philosophical wanderer that plays his harmonica and travels mostly by himself, and he doesn't really care about wealth and material things. He just wants to be free and do his own thing. So when you start up the game, Snufkin is looking down on the Moominvalley, and you're presented with the options of new game and settings. And in the settings there's a nice option if you stream the game called streamer mode, so the game doesn't play any copyrighted music. So the game begins with Moomin and Snufkin sitting on the railing of a small bridge, and it's time for Snufkin to leave because it's autumn already. So he promises his friend Moomin that he will return in the spring. So there's a cutscene with him leaving and returning, well, in spring. So the first quest of the game is to find your friend. So the ground is covered with some snow, and some spring flowers are starting to pop up, so spring is on its way. So you interact with things with the square button, and soon enough you find a creature in a bush that follows you around until you give him a name. You can also pick up rocks and make him makeshift bridges so you can cross body, and you also do some climbing. So you can charm forest creatures by playing your harmonica by pressing the R2 button, but you also need inspiration, and that can be found by interacting with certain animals or going through bushes, which is kind of funny. So there's a level system to all this. You also saved one of Moomin's friends, Sniff, from a huge spider, and Sniff is basically a huge rodent, but Snufkin is a nice guy and he feels a little bit bad for the spider, so he lures a little butterfly in order for the spider to eat. And eventually Snufkin runs into these signs which forbid the most ridiculous things, and well, he rips them out of the ground because they don't belong in nature. And eventually he reaches a cliff and he looks down on the Moominvalley. So these signs has been put up by the park keeper, not a very nice guy. So Snufkin goes into the park, he rips the signs out, and the police patrolling the area leaves the area because there's no more rules to uphold because the signs are gone. And once the signs are gone, the park returns to its natural state, making the nature take its course. You also help a bird get its chick back, and the creature that's been following you finally gets a name. It's now called Tweety Woo. And later there's a more of this, park section thing. You need to rip off some signs and tip over some statues, and once that is done, nature takes its course yet again. And then Snufkin is off to find Moomin. So we run into Moomin's mom and dad, and for some reason the river has dried out and Moomin is gone. So he talks to Little Mai, and Little Mai is this short girl in a red dress. She's very stubborn and a bit angry, a know-it-all kind of girl. And then Mai tells a story about how the Kråk kidnapped Moomin, and I was a bit confused because I've grown up with the books and they were originally written in Swedish. So the Kråk is called Morran in Swedish, this creature followed by frost. So you need to find the Kråk's lair, and you end up being chased by it. But the whole reason for you being chased was that, she was attracted to your lamplight, and Moomin is still nowhere to be found. Later the Kråk helps you put out some fires that the policeman accidentally caused by, putting out bonfires when it was too dry outside, and you're rewarded with a flute. So this game, when it really boils down to it, is a musical puzzle game. So you pick up a drum and a flute and you start with the harmonica, but I don't really want to spoil more of the game because I actually want you to play it. It's really good. It's actually a really short game. I also picked up the DLC, Fuddler's Courtship, and some hat cosmetics. And after playing the game and beating the DLC, the DLC was actually kind of funny because it was even shorter than the original game. So you basically collect buttons, you do some camping, and it's a love story. It's like comfort food, I guess. I felt really good playing. I also ordered and picked up 3 of the Moomin books, and I felt like I found something that I have forgotten. So, gameplay. Go on an adventure with Snufkin, solve puzzles while playing music, and find your friend. Control, left stick is movement, square interacts, X is jump, start pauses the game, triangle swaps between the different instruments, L2 button is run, R2 plays the instrument you currently have, and left on the D-pad brings up the map. Graphics. The art style is just like the books in the cartoon series, so it has like this cozy vibe to it. Sound and music. Oda Tilset was the composer of the game. I think she's Norwegian, and there was also some rework song made by an Icelandic band called Sigurd Rós. And it's kind of an interesting thing. It has this sort of interesting kind of thing going on. Not something that I normally listen to, but it fits the game a bit, I think. It's hard to explain without, go give it a listen. You will see what I mean. Easter eggs, secrets, and glitches. I watched a Skynet short on YouTube where he breaks down the character of Snufkin and his philosophy. It was really interesting. I also watched an interview with Tove herself, and she also seemed very interesting. And apparently there's a movie trailer out where they're working on a movie based on Tove Jansson and her life. And Tove is supposed to be played by Glenn Close. And that's also interesting. So there's a lot of things going on beneath the surface of this Moomin sort of iceberg, I guess. So in conclusion, I wrote, yes, play it. It's a cozy little game. So my aunt and my cousin on my father's side actually collects the Moomin mugs, the figures, the books, and so on. And these characters has been a part of my life since I was a little kid. So the game is exactly what it needs to be, and I love it. The only complaint I have with the game is the quests. There are a lot of quests and a lot of reading, but that's my only complaint basically. I also like the DLC, and I picked up 3 of the Moomin books, and I'm gonna enjoy reading them when I'm bored out of my mind, doing work and normal stuff. So I don't know, this game was exactly what I needed, and I totally forgot about the series, so I can highly recommend it. Go play it. So anyway, thanks for listening and or watching, and take care.